Okay, if we could get everybody back up that needs to be up at the front. We'll get through a few of these questions anyways, pretty interesting ones. Okay, the first question, open to the candidates in the second half. Everybody talks about cutting red tape. This question is very specific. What strategies would you use to cut the red tape at City Hall? So, Richard, you get first crack at this.
2 minutes, and we still have the rebuttal time.
Well, one of the things that I've heard is not only from businessmen, but as well as individuals that were trying to build a home, a single dwelling residence. They said the red tape basically, when they're talking about a lot of the processes that occur along the way to get your building permit, and during the time your house is being built is being repetitious. They talked about, one inspector might not be consulting with the other one, or might not be the same inspector at the time. So things get delayed because of that. The other thing they talked about is the length of time that it takes, for instance, to have a permit from the time you apply to the time it's issued. Now, I myself, I'm not sure exactly what the delay is at this time, other than what the citizens have told me. Sometimes the red tape means added costs that are put on to the initial permit, and they're never discussed. Red tape, basically, as far as I understand, is anything, a bylaw or anything, any process along the way, the administrative process that occurs at the time when a project is being built. That's my interpretation of red tape. Everybody has a different interpretation of what the red tape is because we've all been through it at different times.
Cutting red tape does sound easy, and it's easy to say, but it does involve an awful lot of investigation and an awful lot of changing the way things are done. I believe there's a lot of duplication of services at Tom Davies Square. We have to ensure that we streamline the processes, cut back on the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. Interdepartmental communications are a must, and we have to ensure that the data and information is shared among the departments so that you're not waiting forever for someone to make a decision and finding out the guy next door could have made the decision for you weeks earlier. Reducing the fees and the development charges is important, I believe, as well, to cut the red tape and to get development going in Greater Sudbury. Right now, it's about $14,000. By next year, 2018, it'll be upwards of $20,000 to build a single dwelling home. That's before you do anything. That's expensive. I know people that have built houses recently and just got in under the wire before the development charges came in. If they had waited another year, they wouldn't have built where they built now. We need to take care of this. The strategies in place are streamlining the process and sharing the information interdepartmentally.
I like that. Streamline open data and create performance targets with realistic results. We need to reduce development charges so that businesses can also cut their costs with new development. We've got to stop, I think I heard the word 6 debate, the term tail is wagging the dog. We need to work with city staff and not against the city staff. We have a fantastic group of people at City Hall who are paid very well to do a specific job. And we need to work with them to find out where duplication and triplication in services are and to reduce those to one. We can also offer a quarterly meeting of area managers to find out what they believe would be best. For one answer to be better than the other, I'm not sure, and I'll be the first person to tell you I don't have a magic answer, but I'm willing to work with area managers and city staff to find out.
With today's technology, can't believe that we can't put a request on the computer and process my part of the job, okay? And then go to the next, and by leaving it on a web, it's a site. Falconbridge had this when I worked there. I didn't have to run from one office to the other and wait for somebody else to fill in his gap. It was on the computer system. It went from one to the other and in rotation. Perfect rotation. It wasn't one guy ahead of the other and holding the paper in the corner of his desk waiting forever. This can be done. Bring up-to-date equipment into City Hall where they can do the red tape this way. Cut it out. Go step by step, and nobody puts it in the corner of his desk and waits because I've got other things to do, and eventually I'll get to it. It's very important. That's the only way they can cut red tape. Thank you.
It's hard to know what the red tape is and what the blue tape is because there's so many things that have to be done in the planning process that you're required provincially, you're required locally, you're required for health and safety. In having a long discussion with the Sudbury Home Builders Association, the thing that's bothering the developers the most are the surprises. It's where they get an approval, and then a month later they get a surprise with another cost. And then they get another cost. And then they get a planning process problem where they're told they can't have certain things that lawfully they can have, and then they've got to appeal to the OMB. And time is money for contractors. Time is money for some of these construction workers and these developers. And so when you take a look at the initial costs, like I say, we have a development that's ready to go in commercial development in Valterra. $2 million the developer's going to have to put out of his pocket before he puts a shovel in the ground. Too much. And then he's got to build everything. So the person who wants to buy a home, they can only borrow so much. They can only mortgage so much. So when you've got a development charge of $15,000, $14,000 that you have to find on top of your mortgage, it's hard for a lot of people. Now they have to save that much longer, and it takes them longer to get into their homes. So by eliminating the development charge, more people are going to now be able to get into their homes. By eliminating these extra fees and these surprise fees, you're going to have contractors, developers building the commercial units. And by taking your industrial land, allowing people to buy what they need, and allowing them to pay for it over 20 years so they can spread it out, they will get started. We just have to get started. Once we get the ball rolling, the spin-off effect will take effect. We'll get more houses being built, more apartments being built, more commercial development, more retail, more jobs. Everything will just take off, and I think that's what we've got to do.
We all attended recently a greeting meeting from the Home Builders Association, but I didn't forget when I got there, I didn't forget what the purpose of being there. They were there to basically explain to us what they saw the problems were in regards to construction. But they were talking about residential construction. At the time, they weren't talking about business construction. I understand that, yes, and I do agree that the development charges need to be lowered. But on the other hand, if the charges are lowered to a point, we as taxpayers, home builders, I should say as the average citizen, will have to pay for the difference that is not covered. So that's what we need to be careful of. Streamlining is the best way to go. And when we're talking about red tape, bureaucratic process are just too many of them that need to be reviewed. But again, it goes back to what I said. I will review those processes with our resources, which is the staff. Thank you.
Robert? Oh, you've got rebuttal if you would like. Oh. You had 3 passes. 3 passes.
Is the red flag up there? The red tape, again, I think red tape to everybody is something that prevents you from doing what you want to do. And so, as I said at the beginning, there's red tape, blue tape. There's certain things that have to be done. There's too much duplication. We have to take a look at this thing of, are we losing $14,000 in development fees, or are we gaining $5,000 in property taxes forever? And I think what's been happening, and this is what the Sudbury Home Builders Association was telling us, is we've gone from 500 homes per year down to 2. We're missing 300 homes that could be producing $1.5 million in property taxes. People are having a hard time getting that last bit of money to buy that house. And that's what's really hurting us. So I think we have to take a look at those issues. We're not losing money, we're investing, and we're getting a net gain.
Thank you. The term leadership has obviously been mentioned at various points this evening. The question is, how do you define leadership, and how does that definition help my interest as a taxpayer? Thank you for the question. Leadership, if I can use a football analogy for those that follow football, I do. Leadership is like the coach. You're getting everybody that's on the team to work together for a common goal, ideally for a touchdown at the end. And there's going to be lots of obstacles in the way, lots of people trying to stop your progression, a lot of people trying to argue or change you or slant you the other way. And a leader will pull people together to see the common goal. A leader will recognize and hear the people's opposition and then try to either compromise or try to get them to see the bigger picture. That's what a leader does. A leader doesn't stand up and say, I'm right, you're wrong, and beat you into submission. A leader tries to convince you of why it's an important goal, why you need to get there. So for me, leadership is very much being the coach, the head of the class, the one that is trying to get to the final goal by getting everyone on board, working in the same direction. If you like another analogy, it's the rowing of a boat. If everyone has an oar and they're all rowing at a different time, you're not going to go very many places but in a round and about circle. If you're timing your strokes and you're all going into the water at the same time, in the same direction, you'll get to that place much faster.
Well, I like football, but I'm not the coach. I think the coach in terms of leadership will be our mayor. Not a job I want. However, I can lead in a ward by working with citizens proactively, not reactively. When I get to city council, if elected, I will work productively with council. So not only will I lead in the ward, but I will follow as a group at city council. Plain and simple, leader in the ward, together as a group at city hall.
Leader to me, as part of the council, would be listening to all of you, knowing what you want, what you need, not just what you want, what you need right now, and working my butt off, trying to get it for you, but also within reason. We work this way at home. I end up being a leader in a very small part. Somebody has to lead to be able to succeed. And I would be that voice for you at the table of 12. Thank you.
I guess when we're going to talk about leadership, we have to look at the leadership on the ward level and the leadership at council. And on the ward level, it's a matter of getting to know the people in your community, getting to know what their priorities are and what their needs are, and getting to know what the silent majority is all about. We all hear the vocal minority, but it's the silent majority that you've got to get to know, and you only get to know them when you're working with them and you can see, you kind of catch what they're telling you. From there, you've got to represent them. And this is where the difficulty comes in between, are you representing your ward or are you representing the whole city? My viewpoint is, and just like Ken, I was a union president for 9 years, I represent everybody in this ward as almost like clients. So if they're telling me as a group that the majority wants a certain thing, I have an obligation when I go to council to fight for that. A simple example was used earlier tonight about if we have multi-pad arenas, we might have to close one. Well, I can tell you, if it comes down to we have to close Ray Floyd Arena, if I'm the only voice at City Council fighting to keep that arena open, I will be fighting. It may be 12 to 1 against me, but I will be presenting a case to keep that open because I know the people in my ward want me to fight that way. And so, when we go to City Council, there are 13 mayors. One of them is voted on by everybody, but there are 12 other mayors. And everybody that has a proposal to make to City Council, you're making your proposal to a jury of 12. I don't care whether you're the mayor or council, it's a jury of 12. You need 6 other votes to carry that jury. And that's the way you've got to look at it. When the vote is over, it's over. No grudges, no favors owing. You made your case and you presented it. That's what a leader is.
Leadership. It's something that I've done for the last 37 years, both as a union activist, as an activist in the community, and as well as with my clients at work. Leadership is someone who can lead you, someone that you put your trust in. And when you elect him or her to your council, they will not represent their best interest, but the best interest of the community. That's what I've been doing all these years as a probation officer. That's what I've been doing as a union activist, always putting the better of the local or the better of the community ahead of myself. Those who know me know that's what I've done. You've got good leaders and you've got bad leaders. The good leader is the one that you will put your trust in and you'll get the results that you want. And the results that are best for everybody, not for yourself. A bad leader is someone who gets in there and says, you know what? I think I can get this for myself. And, nobody will know. I'll convince them that it's better for the community. Leadership is someone who's a team player. Someone who can make compromises, but not compromises to the point where they give everything away, but compromises to the point where it will lead to everybody's benefit and everybody's gain. And I'm not going to forget that I get elected in Ward 5. I understand that, but I'm there to represent the city of Greater Sudbury and keeping in mind the interests of the citizens of Ward 5.
Rebuttal, Lieutenant. I think the concern, to just rebut some of Bob's comments, the idea of 13 mayors of council is what I alluded to earlier this evening, and the concern that we've had breakdown for the last number of years because people are fighting over their own ward and not looking at the grand picture. Leadership, as I said, requires discussing all the information, giving it all the information to the people you represent, and trying to get them to understand the global picture. Of course, in our democratic style of government, it's the majority that rules. And my job is to represent the majority. It's not to present my ideas. It's not to vote on what I think is best. It's what the majority of the constituents want. The silent majority is something that needs to stop. You guys have a vote, not just once every 4 years, but you need to be engaged and vocal throughout the 4 years. We need to know what your opinion is on all the issues so we can represent the majority. It's not a voice once every 4 years. It's ongoing and continuing.
As a development leader underground, I find ways to bring out people's strengths, and I nurture those strengths by using those people to help with others' weaknesses. And when you help other people's weaknesses, you bring everybody to the same level. For the record, if elected, my name is John. I don't want to be called a councillor, nor do I want to be called a mayor. Plain and simple.
It was part of my job throughout the 30 years to lead a group so that the mining would be successful, the mine would be safe, I listened to the people underground as to what they knew about mining, plus what I had learned in college. I was not an engineer. I used common sense from the workers. I brought that up to my office, my desk, and proceeded on how to operate in the mine. I plan to do exactly the same thing with your voices. I'll be the guy up there, okay, the voice for you. I want not just to be a leader, no. I want to be one of that group of 12 that'll, again,
Yeah, you're in rebuttal.
Very quickly, you got to understand the difference between fighting for your ward and not paying attention to what's good for the city, and presenting the feelings of your ward to council. If Ward 5 is telling me, and not just telling me at town hall meetings on Facebook, but if by me being out among them, I'm talking to them and I'm learning what their priorities are, if I'm making a proposal at council that seems to be a proposal that benefits Ward 5, it's because I've been asked to go forward as a voice of Ward 5 to bring that to the table. I have an obligation to bring that voice to the table. Now, when the decision is made, if I haven't made a good enough case, and I don't get those extra 6 people, it's over. Where we've been having the problem is people have been holding grudges. You don't vote for me, I'm not going to vote for you. And they get into this situation where you've got favors back and forth. No, every single proposal is a presentation with a jury.
No, you can't steal his minutes. Okay. Latest estimates suggest that there are 600 homeless citizens living in the streets of Sudbury at the moment. What are your thoughts on how would you propose to deal with the homeless crisis? I think we started with Richard last. With John?
I'm next. To the wolves.
600 homeless. How to deal with it? I don't know. Like I said at the beginning of the opening statement, I'm not going to give you the answer you want to hear. I'm going to give you the one you need to hear. And I don't know how to deal with the homeless. I haven't been exposed to it. I have to educate myself. I have to find and meet with groups to find out what is needed. I know it's not profitable dealing with homeless, and I know it doesn't need to be.